Hey, what's up everybody? I hope you're all fantastic. Today I'm continuing my top 100 movies of the 1980s series. We're halfway through the list, 50 more movies to go, and today I'm covering films number 50 through 41. 10 awesome movies in this list that deliver some comedy, a new action star, a new horror icon, one timeless adventure, a dead body, and much more. As always, to keep the pace moving, I won't cover the synopsises for these films. They will be down in the description. All the past episodes in this series are going to be linked in this video as well if you need to catch up on any of them. So with all that out of the way, let's dive into 10 more classic movies from the 1980s. Kicking this list off at number 50 is a gritty actioner that would introduce the world to a new star. In 1988, Steven Seagal would star in Above the Law, directed by Andrew Davis, also starring Pam Grier, Henry Silva, and a young Sharon Stone. Hollywood was blessed with a new action star as Steven Seagal would burst onto the scene with this movie. The simplicity of the story is still more than effective in stringing the action and the fight sequences together, and I mean, you can't deny Seagal's screen presence as he takes this cop with an attitude trope and really does own it and make it his own. Sure, Seagal's acting was limited at the time. It was pretty much always limited, but I mean, he paired well with the experienced Pam Grier to really pull this character off. His fight style created a new brutal brand of action that we didn't see at the time. It's a blend of speed and finesse and brute force, and the result is a gritty 80s action movie that still holds up great all these years later. I'm keeping things in 1988 from a number 49 pick. A new horror icon would step onto the scene with some gusto. When people had nightmares, they dreamed of Freddy. When Freddy had nightmares, he dreamed of Chucky. In Child's Play from the mind of Don Mancini, starring a demented little doll voiced by Brad Dourif. A new horror legend would be born with this movie, and Child's Play is still a great horror flick all these decades later. I mean, a killer doll sounds ridiculous, but the result is still a classic horror romp filled with just delightful tension and violence and Chucky one-liners. I mean, this doll is an iconic character because of his demented sense of humor, and I think the voiceover work from Dourif is why. I mean, Chucky tormenting this young boy is always going to be a great ride because of how unique it is. It does follow familiar plot beats, but with a charismatic Chucky that could give a Freddy a run for his money on open mic night. Child's Play is a fantastic origin story for a little doll that you can't help but love and be scared of at the same time. We're going to jump ahead a year into 1989 for my number 48 pick, a just gripping Vietnam War drama from Brian De Palma, a story about some soldiers that took things too far and one soldier that wouldn't, and Casualties of War starring Michael J. Fox, Sean Penn, John C. Reilly, Don Harvey, and John Leguizamo. Brian De Palma does not hold back with this searing war drama that admittedly is a tough film to watch at times. It covers aspects and situations of the Vietnam War that can anger you, it can really break your heart, while also captivating your imagination. The direction and the cinematography is very grand, but it's also very intimate when the story requires it to be. But it all just, I think, comes down to the cast who just put their heart and souls into these characters. Some of them you hate, some of them you root for, others you sympathize with, and Fox, Penn, Reilly, and Leguizamo, as well as Harvey, just deliver emotionally raw performances that will command the screen from the start to the finish. We're lightening things up for my number 47 pick because I have another magically ridiculous comedy about two guys just trying to advance their careers. They get invited to their boss's beach house, but the only problem is he's dead. In the 1989 classic Weekend at Bernie's, starring Andrew McCarthy, Jonathan Silverman, and Terry Kaiser as Bernie. Now, anytime you want to watch a mindless escape filled with laughs and zany adventure and ridiculous insanity, then Weekend at Bernie's is a go-to movie for that because I think it's fantastic. McCarthy and Silverman are a great duo. They sell the material and the ridiculous moments. They play off one another so naturally, and Kaiser delivers a performance that I think makes Bernie the coolest dead guy in cinematic history. You never know where this story is going to go next, what situation or eccentric character is going to pop into the following scene, and it results in a delightfully dumb romp out in the Hamptons with a range of comedy to laugh at. You got sight gags, physical humor, situational laughs. I think this movie really does have it all, and it pairs it with a classic feel-good score from the 80s. We're going to take a trip out into the wilderness for my number 46 pick from the mind of John Hughes. A Week in the Woods with Roman and Chet is no holiday. It's war in the great outdoors from 1988, directed by Howard Deutsch, starring comedic legends John Candy and Dan Aykroyd. This movie has always been in my summer rotation, and it always provides just a nostalgic escape. I think Candy and Aykroyd pair together so well. Candy cements it all with a charming, down-to-earth performance, and Aykroyd just soaks it in as this arrogant salesman that constantly is taking jabs and posturing. But I mean, there is a fun, adventure-filled story in the woods to wrap around them that really make it a complete film. I think it captures the summer camping vibe with many comical scenarios to complement that. It has the massive old 96er, a bald bear, comedic characters, bats, raccoons, lake mayhem, and summer love. And I think the great outdoors, for an 80s comedy that just will take you to another place, has it all. It really has been a 1988 heavy list so far, and I'm sticking with that year for my number 45 pick. Just a childhood classic of mine from Ivan Reitman about a man, a woman, and a rabbit in a triangle of trouble in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, starring Bob Hoskins, Christopher Lloyd, and Charles Fleischer as the voice of Roger Rabbit. Now, this is easily another childhood favorite of mine. I always enjoy escaping into the world of Toontown. The blend of animation and live action was cutting edge at the time, and it still looks pretty damn good today. Christopher Lloyd was fantastic as the menacing Judge Doom with a very just animated and vibrant performance. Hoskins really is impressive as he cements the film as valiant, but I mean, the charm and the charisma of Roger through the voice work from Fleischer really makes him the true star of the movie. The plot is vibrant and unique. It brought something truly innovative to the screen, so innovative that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is still as immersive today as it was back in 1988. We're jumping back to 1985 for my number 44 pick. It's a just textbook 80s action romp. If there was a mission that no man could survive, then this is the man to get the job done, and that man would be Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Mark L. Lester classic Commando, also starring Alyssa Milano, Ray Don Chong, Vernon Wells, and Bill Duke. Now, this was Arnold's answer to Rambo, and as simplistic as it all is, I still think it delivers plenty of fun 80s action movie gusto. It's very fast-paced, it's mindless, and riddled with superhuman just Arnold moments as he vows to save his daughter. It definitely has its cheesy moments, it's very on the nose at times as well, but the charm and the silliness of this movie are just unconditional, and you can't help but love it. Vernon Wells is delightful as the villain. Arnold's in peak one-man army mode here as John Matrix. He's taking down bad guys, flipping cars, and destroying anything in his way. And while the finale doesn't quite deliver the spectacle of Rambo 2, I think its efforts still make it result as being a classic 80s actioner. Comedy meets action meets fantasy in my number 43 pick, where Eddie Murphy is the chosen one. Another childhood favorite of mine, that being The Golden Child from 1986, also starring Charlotte Lewis, Victor Wong, James Hong, and Charles Dance. Fantasy met humor, met action, met adventure in this wildly over-the-top flick led by the charismatic performance from Eddie Murphy. This film really marks the era where Hollywood would take chances and told out-of-the-box stories, and while it certainly does have its flaws, I don't think they get in the way of the over-the-top fun journey that it takes. Murphy works in his brand of comedy into this bold storyline with ease, and I think he carries it. There's just a energy to this movie. It's having fun, and the result is a blast. You're kind of having fun with it. It has vibrant locations, martial arts, mystery, bizarre characters, and Murphy in the middle of it all to just cement it as an 80s classic. Next up at number 42 is only the third sequel to make this list so far, but it is a fantastic one. The tagline was simple when it said the magic is back, and it truly was when Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, and director Richard Donner returned for Lethal Weapon 2 in 1989. I think this is one of the all-time great sequels out there. It continues the atmosphere of the original perfectly. It has a purpose and doesn't simply retread what worked in the original. It's filled with emotion, friendship, adrenaline-pumping action, nicely timed spots of levity. The story really does have foundation. It advances the characters of Riggs and Glover, who are at their best together in this film. It adds Joe Pesci to the mix, which is just fantastic, and it's just really a well-structured plot that's as interesting between the action as it is when the guns are blazing, and Riggs and Glover in this film further cement themselves as the best on-screen duo of all time. And for the last movie on this list, at number 41, another masterpiece of 80s cinema. It was labeled as the return of the great adventure to cinema, and that would be, of course, the Steven Spielberg classic Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, starring Harrison Ford in his second iconic role from the 1980s. Indiana Jones, safe to say, was a staple for any kid growing up in the 80s, and Harrison Ford was perfection in the role as the whip-wielding hero. This movie is filled with international adventure, Williams' triumphant scoring, imaginative writing, but it's really also complemented with awesome practical effects, locations and cultures I'd never seen as a kid, and unnerving suspense and action, with Harrison Ford in the center of it all, commanding the screen like a true movie star. I emulated Indiana Jones as a kid, playing back in the woods behind my house, living my own treasure hunting journeys. It really does keep a fast pace, and it has interesting substance, and it can still appeal to all ages all these years later. And that's it for today, guys. 10 more great movies from the 1980s that I think will stand the test of time. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you've been enjoying this series so far. Only a few more videos to go and it will be complete. Let me know what some of your favorites are from the 1980s as we approach the top of this list. And until the next video, I'll see you guys at the movies.